If you were to scroll through your pocket change or that old coin jar in the back of a drawer and pull out a 1981 Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny, you might be holding far more than a single cent. At first glance, it's just another penny, a tiny bronze circle stamped with Abraham Lincoln on the front and the words 1 cent and United States of America on the back. The face value is 1 cent, but for collectors and numismatic enthusiasts, certain 1981 pennies are far more significant. Some are worth just a few cents above face value due to condition and age, while others, thanks to mint errors, mistakes, and rare varieties, can be worth tens, hundreds, or even thousands of dollars in the current market. This lengthy exploration dives into the history of that humble penny, how and why errors occur, what kinds of mistakes make coins valuable, and what these coins are trading for today. In 1981, the United States Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents with the familiar wheat memorial reverse design that had been used since 1959. These coins were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them a heavy, reddish appearance that collectors refer to as red or red-brown. Although most coins remain in circulation for years and even decades, many are eventually taken out of circulation by collectors who seek them for sets, investments, or the thrill of discovery. The basic market value of a circulated 1981 Lincoln penny without any special characteristics typically hovers just above its 1 cent face value. In average circulated condition, most 1981 pennies are worth a few cents to a couple of dollars at most, depending on market demand and the coin's surface quality. A high-grade specimen in mint condition might be worth more but still generally modest money when compared to rarities from earlier eras. However ordinary that standard 1981 penny might seem, the story becomes far more fascinating when we examine the errors and anomalies that can occur during the minting process. Coins are struck individually by powerful presses that stamp nearly perfect images onto metal planchets. Even with modern technology, the sheer number of coins produced means tiny mistakes can slip through. When a coin is struck improperly, it can display unusual features that collectors prize. Errors can take many forms: off-center strikes where the design is shifted, double dies where letters or numbers appear duplicated, clipped planchets where part of the blank was missing, repunched mint marks where the mint mark was struck more than once, and even the rarest of all mistakes where a penny is struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin. The existence of 1981 penny errors provides the reason why these coins can trade for far more than 1 cent. Collectors know that error coins are inherently limited by nature. There are only so many misstruck coins from a given year, and once they are found and collected, they disappear from circulation forever. The market value of a given error coin depends on how rare the error is, how visually dramatic it appears, whether the date and mint mark are readable, and the overall condition of the coin. Coins that are professionally authenticated and graded by services such as PCGS or NGC command the highest prices, because collectors are confident the error is genuine and the grade accurately reflects its condition. To understand why some pennies are worth more, it helps to learn about the typical manufacturing errors that can occur. One of the most intriguing error types on the 1981 Lincoln cent is the off-center strike. This happens when a coin blank isn't properly aligned within the press during striking. Instead of the design being centered on the coin, the image is partially missing or shifted off the planchet. Depending on how far off-center the strike is and whether the date remains visible, these coins can be quite collectible. A 1981 penny struck significantly off-center, say 40% or more, while still showing the date, can sell for well above face value, sometimes fetching over $100 or more if authenticated and graded. Another prominent error variety is the double die. During the hubbing process that creates the working dies, the die may be impressed more than once in slightly different positions. The result is a coin where the design appears to be doubled, especially visible in lettering and numerals. On a 1981 penny, you might see doubling on the letters of Liberty or the year itself. Some double die errors are more subtle and require magnification to spot, while others are more dramatic and easily visible to the naked eye. Although no major ultra-rare 1981 double die variety akin to famous Lincoln cents from other years has been widely recognized, significant examples of double dies can command well into 2 digits or more, depending on the clarity of the doubling and the coin's grade. Die cracks and die breaks also occur. As coining dies wear out from repeated use, they can develop fractures or pieces of metal can break away entirely. When a die cracks, metal from the planchet flows into the crack during striking, leaving raised lines on the finished coin. These cracks vary in size, small ones may add only a little interest to a coin, but larger cracks that cross major design elements can attract collector attention. A die break, where a chunk of the die has broken off, can create a distinctive raised area known as a cud. Both die cracks and cuds can boost a 1981 penny's value over ordinary circulated pieces, though generally not as much as dramatic off-center or mold errors. One especially fun error category for collectors is the repunched mint mark or RPM. Before modern automated systems, mint marks were punched into the dies by hand. If the mint mark punch was applied more than once in slightly different positions, the resulting coins struck from that die show multiple impressions of the mint mark. On 1981 pennies, this is most often seen on the Denver Mint coins that bear the D mint mark. If the doubling or tripling of the mint mark is pronounced, these repunched mint mark coins can trade for a modest premium above standard examples. The level of value depends on how noticeable the additional impressions are under magnification. Another prominent error variety is the double die. During the hubbing process that creates the working dies, the die may be impressed more than once in slightly different positions. The result is a coin where the design appears to be doubled, especially visible in lettering and numerals. On a 1981 penny, you might see doubling on the letters of Liberty or the year itself. Some double die errors are more subtle and require magnification to spot, while others are more dramatic and easily visible to the naked eye. Although no major ultra-rare 1981 double die variety akin to famous Lincoln cents from other years has been widely recognized, significant examples of double dies can command well into 2 digits or more, depending on the clarity of the doubling and the coin's grade. Die cracks and die breaks also occur. As coining dies wear out from repeated use, they can develop fractures or pieces of metal can break away entirely. When a die cracks, metal from the planchet flows into the crack during striking, leaving raised lines on the finished coin. These cracks vary in size. Small ones may add only a little interest to a coin, but larger cracks that cross major design elements can attract collector attention. A die break, where a chunk of the die has broken off, can create a distinctive raised area known as a cud. Both die cracks and cuds can boost a 1981 penny's value over ordinary circulated pieces, though generally not as much as dramatic off-center or mold errors. One especially fun error category for collectors is the repunched mint mark or RPM. Before modern automated systems, mint marks were punched into the dies by hand. If the mint mark punch was applied more than once in slightly different positions, the resulting coins struck from that die show multiple impressions of the mint mark. On 1981 pennies, this is most often seen on the Denver Mint coins that bear the D mint mark. If the doubling or tripling of the mint mark is pronounced, these repunched mint mark coins can trade for a modest premium above standard examples. The level of value depends on how noticeable the additional impressions are under magnification. Now, once again imagine holding a small piece of American history in the palm of your hand, a humble copper-colored Lincoln penny struck in 1986 that looks so ordinary at first glance yet hides stories and secrets beneath its surface that can make collectors and coin enthusiasts sit up with excitement. This is not just any penny, this is a Liberty 1 cent 1986 Lincoln penny, and within its simple appearance lies a fascinating journey spanning decades from the moment it was designed, struck and circulated to the present day, where certain examples command attention and value far beyond their face value. In this extensive narrative we will explore the history, the design, the story behind the Lincoln penny, the factors that influence value, and the many possible errors, mistakes and mint mark oddities that make certain Lincoln pennies especially sought after by collectors and investors and coin lovers alike. The story of the Lincoln penny begins long before 1986. The United States 1 cent coin, also known as the penny, has been produced since 1793, evolving through numerous designs, metals, and artistic interpretations. The penny holds a unique place in American culture as the smallest denomination of U.S. currency and serves as a symbol of everyday commerce for generations of Americans. It is common in pocket change, in jars, on countertops and under couch cushions, yet rarely does it receive the kind of admiration reserved for larger and more ornate coins. But the Lincoln penny broke the tradition because of its subject, Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose image has adorned the 1 cent coin since 1909. In 1909 the United States Mint introduced the Lincoln cent to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first widely circulated American coin to feature a real historical figure, replacing the symbolic Lady Liberty and ushering in a profoundly popular and long-lasting coin design. The coin was designed by Victor David Brenner, a sculptor whose initials VDB would become part of the story of the Lincoln penny itself. The original 1909 Lincoln pennies featured Brenner's initials prominently on the reverse, and this detail would later lead to one of the most famous and valuable varieties in the Lincoln cent series, the 1909 SVDB penny. Collectors and dealers still seek that coin today, and its popularity set the stage for the intense interest in later Lincoln cents, including the 1986 issue. For decades, Lincoln pennies were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and occasionally San Francisco, these mints producing billions of coins that entered everyday commerce. Over time, the Lincoln penny underwent design modifications, most notably in 1959 when the reverse was changed from the wheat ears design to the Lincoln Memorial design, marking the coin's 50th anniversary. This design survived until 2008 and was in place when the 1986 Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny was produced. By the 1980s, the Lincoln Memorial cent had been in circulation for more than 25 years and hundreds of billions of these coins had been struck. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced staggering numbers of Lincoln cents each year, billions at a time, enough to supply the economy with the everyday change needed for vending machines, parking meters, and human transactions alike. But within such huge production runs, rarity seemed implausible, yet the highly observant collector soon learned that even in these massive mintage years, varieties, anomalies, and errors could and did occur. These variations are what separate a mundane piece of pocket change from a potentially valuable collectible coin. The Liberty 1-cent 1986 Lincoln penny itself reflects a design that honors the basic principles of American democracy. Although the exact phrase liberty is not a design element like on older classic coins, the concept is embedded in the notion of featuring Abraham Lincoln, a champion of unity, emancipation, and constitutional liberty, on the coin. The obverse features Lincoln's profile based on Victor Brenner's original and enduring design, and the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, a miniature representation of the monument in Washington, D.C. This design symbolizes the enduring legacy of Lincoln's commitment to preserving the Union and advancing human rights. For collectors, this connection to history adds intangible value beyond the mere metal content or face value of the coin. Most 1986 Lincoln pennies are of modest worth and circulate widely in pocket change. For years, these coins were so common that few people gave them a second thought. Yet close inspection by collectors has revealed a number of unusual varieties and errors in this issue that have gradually captured the attention of numismatists. These varieties may result from die defects, misaligned strikes, double strikes, off-center mint mark anomalies, doubled dies, repunched mint marks, and other minting irregularities. Each type of anomaly has its own story and degree of desirability among collectors. We will explore these in depth. Before we dive into error varieties, it is helpful to understand how pennies are made. The process begins with prepared metal blanks known as planchets, which are punched from sheets of metal. In 1986, the core of the penny was primarily zinc with a thin copper plating. The prepared blanks are fed into coining presses where hardened steel dies strike both sides of the blank with immense pressure, imparting the design details onto the coin. One die strikes the obverse Lincoln's portrait and the other die strikes the reverse Lincoln Memorial. These dies must be perfectly aligned and in good condition to produce a normal, flawless coin. Yet with millions of coins struck through a single pair of dies, the possibility of wear breakage or misalignment arises and errors occur. Such errors, once seen as mistakes by the mint, become prized by collectors because they illustrate unique stories of the minting process. One of the most well-known and easily recognized types of error is the off-center strike. In an off-center strike, the planchet is not properly centered between the die faces when struck. As a result, a portion of the design is missing and the coin appears incomplete. The more off-center the strike, the more dramatic and unusual the appearance. Off-center Lincoln pennies from 1986 can vary widely in value depending on how far off-center they are and whether any of the date or mint mark is visible. An off-center coin that lacks the date entirely may be interesting but is valued less than one that includes the date because collectors want to know the issue year. A 1986 off-center Lincoln penny with significant off-center strike might fetch significant collector interest and value distinct from the standard cent. Die cracks and die breaks are another category of mint error seen in Lincoln pennies. As dies where they can develop cracks which transfer raised lines onto the coins they strike. These cracks can appear as random raised lines across Lincoln's shoulder or across the fields of the coin. Some collectors prize dramatic die breaks, especially if they form interesting patterns or affect key design elements. Some 1986 pennies with noticeable die cracks have become minor collectibles. Die chips, which are small chunks of die metal breaking off, can create raised blobs on the coin's surface, acting as mini sculptures that draw interest from variety hunters. These errors tend to be less valuable than major off-center strikes or rare double dies, but provide an accessible entry point for novice collectors looking for anomalies in common date coins. Double die errors occur when the die itself is improperly manufactured and features double design elements. This doubling shows as shadows or ghost-like images of letters, numbers, or design elements. On Lincoln Cents, a double die might show doubling on the date, the lettering "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." These double dies are especially popular when dramatic and clear. There are known double die varieties in many Lincoln Cent dates, and collectors have cataloged them extensively. For 1986, some double die varieties do exist, though they are generally less dramatic and less valuable than the famous double die obverse 1955 Lincoln Cents. That said, a collector who finds a clear and significant double die on a 1986 cent could find their coin commanding a premium over face value in the marketplace. Mint mark errors also play a significant role in the intrigue surrounding 1986 pennies. In 1986, coins were struck at least in Philadelphia and Denver. Philadelphia struck coins bear no mint mark, while Denver coins carry the letter D. Collectors pay attention to mint mark placement, appearance, and anomalies such as repunched mint marks where the mint mark was punched more than once into the die, leaving traces of a second impression slightly offset from the first. These repunched mint marks create a subtle but distinctive doubled appearance to the mint mark. Coins with repunched mint marks are often cataloged and can fetch a premium compared to their standard counterparts, especially when the doubling is clear and collectible. Errors like die rotation, where the die faces are misaligned relative to each other, can produce what collectors call rotational errors. In these cases, the obverse and reverse designs are rotated relative to each other by an unusual degree. For Lincoln Cents, rotational errors might show the Lincoln Memorial upright when the obverse is upside down or at some odd angle. These rotational errors are intriguing and often command interest because they represent a clear break from the normal minting alignment. While the above errors are examples of striking anomalies, mechanical errors can also occur. These include clipped planchets, where part of the blank was missing upon striking, typically due to improper feeding of the planchet strip. A clipped Lincoln Cent might show a curved missing portion on the coin's edge, representing where the metal was clipped out. Partial collars or broad strikes occur when the planchet expands outside its intended diameter due to missing or improperly functioning collar that holds the coin to size during striking. Broad strike Lincoln Cents from 1986 may be slightly larger in diameter and have softened design details extending to the edges. These are unusual, and collectors may find them desirable, especially in higher grade condition. Condition or grade is another major factor influencing the value of any coin, including 1986 Lincoln pennies. Most pennies found in circulation have significant wear from use. These circulated coins are often rated on the lower end of the numismatic grading scale, meaning details are worn and surfaces show nicks and scratches. Collectors prefer coins in higher condition, showing crisp details and original luster. Uncirculated coins straight from the mint that have never been spent can be graded by professional grading services. These graded coins receive a numeric grade on a scale that typically goes up to 70, with flawless examples earning the top scores. A 1986 Lincoln penny graded as uncirculated mint state about MS65 or higher will be worth more than a worn circulated example, especially if the coin displays exceptional eye appeal and original mint luster. For error coins, the combination of error type and high-grade condition can dramatically increase value. Another interesting category that has gained attention among collectors is the phenomenon of die varieties due to changes in the design or subtle modifications during production runs. For example, some Lincoln pennies may exhibit slight differences in the font size of the date or subtle variations in the placement of letters, indicating the mint made minor adjustments to dies during the year. These die varieties become fascinating to specialist collectors who seek to document every known variation in a given year's production. While many of these varieties do not command extreme values, they contribute to the rich tapestry of numismatic study and the ongoing interest in Lincoln Cent collecting. One critical factor that affects value is rarity. Even within a high-volume production year like 1986, some dies may have only been used for a short period, producing fewer coins with a particular characteristic. When such a limited-use die produces coins with a unique die break error or an unusual die variety, those coins inherently become rarer than their standard counterparts. Serious collectors and dealers study mint records, die usage patterns, and surviving population reports to estimate how many coins of a particular variety exist. The fewer known surviving examples, the more desirable and valuable the coin typically becomes. Market demand also plays an important role. Certain error types generate greater interest because they are visually dramatic or historically significant. An off-center strike that reveals only Lincoln's jawline might be interesting, but an off-center strike that shows the date and mint mark and dramatic lack of design might be far more valuable. Likewise, a significant double die with very clear doubling across key design elements will attract more collector interest and command higher prices than subtle doubling that is hard to see without magnification. Speaking of prices and current market value, it is impossible to assign exact numbers for every possible variety and condition because the market fluctuates over time based on collector interest, economic factors, and newly discovered coins. That said, for everyday circulated 1986 Lincoln pennies without errors, the value is generally around face value or perhaps slightly above for cleaner examples because these coins are so common. Yet when we look at coins with notable errors or varieties, values begin to separate sharply from that base. For example, a 1986 Lincoln penny with a moderate off-center error may sell for tens of dollars in collector circles, while a dramatic off-center of 50% or more strike could fetch hundreds of dollars depending on condition and collector interest. Certain repunched mint marks that show clear doubling at the D mint mark might sell for mid-range collector prices ranging from tens to low hundreds of dollars if well defined. Double die examples, while rarer and more desirable, can reach into the hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars for the very best and dramatic specimens, especially if graded by a leading third-party grading service. A major rotational error or broad strike can similarly elevate the coin's value significantly beyond face. Condition matters a great deal in all these cases. An error coin in pristine uncirculated condition often commands much higher prices than a similar error on a well-worn circulated penny. Collectors also value provenance and certification. A 1986 Lincoln penny with an error that has been authenticated and graded by companies such as PCGS or NGC often sells at a premium over an uncertified example because buyers have confidence in the legitimacy and grade. Auction records and dealer price guides track these sales over time and help establish realistic market expectations. Because the numismatic market can shift based on trends, 1 year a particular error might be highly sought after and commands robust prices, but over time, as more examples surface or interest wanes, values may adjust. Nonetheless, dramatic and well-documented errors generally hold strong collector interest even through market cycles. There are also varieties tied to certain years or mints that have become famous in the broader coin collecting world. For example, the 1983 double die Lincoln cent attracted immense attention and significant values because of how prominent the doubling was. While the 1986 double die varieties are not as universally dramatic, they still represent an important area of study and collecting for Lincoln cent enthusiasts. Some collectors focus entire collections on Lincoln pennies from the mid-1980s because they exhibit a variety of interesting minting characteristics, including die cracks, repunched mint marks, and minor double dies that together tell a deeper story about the minting process that year. It is worth acknowledging that many coins labeled as errors, especially on online marketplaces, may be misidentified or exaggerated. The human eye can perceive shadows and die where that might be mistaken for doubling or other anomalies. This is why serious collectors often use magnification, proper lighting, in comparison to verified standard examples to confirm an error. Professional grading services provide detailed analysis and certification that help both buyers and sellers agree on the legitimacy of an error coin and its grade. Turning back to the everyday 1986 Lincoln penny without noticeable errors, most such coins remain at or near face value throughout the coin collecting world, and among casual holders these coins are simply pieces of pocket change with no additional premium. Yet even these common pennies have value to collectors who seek complete date runs or who enjoy the challenge of examining everyday coins for hidden surprises. For those passionate about the Lincoln cent series, every year's production represents a chapter in a story that started more than a century ago. The enduring popularity of the Lincoln penny also reflects its cultural significance. Though debates continue about the utility and cost-effectiveness of producing pennies given the rising cost of materials and declining purchasing power, the penny remains in widespread use. In Canada, the penny was eliminated from circulation years ago, but in the United States it persists. Whether future production will continue remains debated among economists, policymakers, and the public. For collectors, however, the longevity of the Lincoln Penny series means a vast collecting field with endless stories and variety waiting to be discovered. From the earliest 1909 VDB coins to modern issues like the 1986 Liberty 1-cent Lincoln Penny, there is a rich numismatic heritage to explore and appreciate. Collectors also place value on the historical narrative captured in these coins. Holding a 1986 penny is like holding a piece of the economic and cultural fabric of that year. It was a time of Cold War tensions easing global changes, and in the United States the economy was shifting and evolving. Everyday transactions involving pennies were ordinary yet invisible moments in history. Today these same coins evoke nostalgia and curiosity, connecting us to the past in tangible ways. An error penny with dramatic off-center strike feels like a tiny time capsule carrying the moment of its imperfect creation at the mint, a moment that never occurred again. In the realm of coin collecting communities, online forums, local clubs and national numismatic organizations share information about known errors and varieties. Research continues as collectors document newly discovered varieties, sometimes leading to updates in reference books and price guides. The story of the 1986 Lincoln Penny continues to evolve as more collectors examine their coins, finding previously unnoticed anomalies or confirming rare varieties. This ongoing discovery process adds greater depth to the market and keeps interest alive across generations of collectors. So what makes certain 1986 Lincoln pennies valuable beyond their face value? First, the historical connection to Abraham Lincoln and the continuity of the Lincoln cent design makes these coins inherently interesting. Second, the possibility of mint errors and die varieties creates a spectrum of collectible interest, from everyday circulated pieces to rare and dramatic anomalies. Third, the broader numismatic market that values rarity, condition, authenticity and provenance elevates certain examples to desirable collector status, commanding significant premiums. Fourth, the ongoing research and community engagement within numismatics ensures that interest in these coins remains dynamic and that new stories and discoveries continue to add to the rich narrative of the Lincoln Cent series. In conclusion, the Liberty 1-cent 1986 Lincoln Penny is more than a piece of spent currency, it is a thread in the vast tapestry of American coinage. While most examples remain common and worth no more than their face value, the presence of errors, mistakes and mint mark anomalies offer exciting possibilities for collectors seeking coins of distinction. Whether it is an off-center strike that reveals a portion of Lincoln's profile, a striking double die that shows ghostly shadows of lettering, or a repunched mint mark that hints at the complex machinery of the mint, the 1986 penny rewards patience, careful observation and curiosity. Collectors today continue to search through rolls of pennies, hoping to find that rare gem that elevates a simple penny into a prized collectible. The story of the 1986 Lincoln Penny stands as a testament to the unexpected wonders that can be found in the most ordinary objects when we take the time to look closely and appreciate the history hidden in plain sight. My dears, now the story of the Liberty 1-cent 1991 D Lincoln Penny, a seemingly simple piece of American change that can be worth far more than its face value when it carries the right quirks, mint mistakes or striking anomalies. Imagine the excitement of uncovering one of these rare varieties in a jar of pocket change and watching the eyes of collectors light up when they see the unusual features that make it special. This is not just a penny, this is a tiny piece of history and sometimes a treasure waiting to be discovered. The Lincoln Penny is arguably one of the most iconic coins in American numismatics. Its story stretches back to the early 20th century when the United States Mint made a revolutionary decision that would permanently transform the way Americans looked at their everyday money. In 1909, the Lincoln cent was introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The image of Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, replaced the previous symbolic depictions. And for the first time, a real historical figure appeared on a regularly circulating coin. This was far more than a cosmetic change, it was a symbolic recognition of Lincoln's enduring legacy as a leader who preserved the Union, led the nation through its greatest internal conflict and championed liberty in a way that continues to resonate generations later. The design was crafted by Victor David Brenner, a sculptor whose work was based on a life mask of Lincoln's face. The obverse of the coin features Lincoln's profile facing right, the word liberty to the left, the motto "I and God We Trust" above, and the date and mint mark to the right. For much of the 20th century, the reverse featured wheat ears until 1959, when the design was changed to depict the Lincoln Memorial, a neoclassical tribute to the president located on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. This design remained in use until 2008, when the Lincoln Bicentennial Series introduced new reverse designs. The remarkably long run of the Lincoln cent design speaks to its popularity and cultural significance, but it also created fertile ground for deep collector interest because these coins were produced in staggering numbers. Rarely did people consider that pennies like the 1991 D Lincoln cent could have unusual variants or errors that command significant value beyond their face 1 cent denomination yet. Collectors who study the minute details of coins know that even in high-volume years like 1991, striking anomalies can occur, and that some of these anomalies are worth far more than the ordinary coins that make up everyday circulation. The 1991 D Lincoln penny refers to pennies struck in 1991 at the Denver Mint, which is identified by the letter D just below the date on the obverse. The Denver Mint has been a major producer of Lincoln cents for many decades, complementing production at the Philadelphia Mint, which in many years issued coins without a mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint, which generally produced proof coins for collectors. The 1991 D Lincoln penny in its ordinary form is one of the countless pennies produced each year, and most of these coins circulated widely, paying for candy, gum, cigarettes, soda, and parking meters across the United States. They were dropped into purses, wallets, cash registers, and piggy banks all over the country, and when found today in pocket change, these ordinary circulated coins are commonly worth just a penny, or in some cases a modest amount more to collectors if they are exceptionally well preserved. The real fascination begins when a 1991 D penny exhibits characteristics that result from imperfections in the minting process. These imperfections are not intentional, they are rare events that happen when something goes slightly differently than intended somewhere along the chain of production, from planchet preparation to striking to mint mark application. Numismatists call these mint errors or striking anomalies. Some are subtle, some are dramatic, and some are so distinctive that they attract significant demand and value in the collector market. Before diving deep into the specific errors and their potential values, it is helpful to understand the process by which pennies are made. In the year 1991, pennies were composed of a core primarily made of zinc and plated with a thin layer of copper, giving them the familiar copper color Americans recognize whether at Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. The process began with massive coils of planchet metal that were punched into blanks of precise size, weight, and composition. These blanks were inspected and then fed into the coining presses, where hardened steel dies struck them under tremendous pressure, imprinting both sides of the coin with design details. On the obverse, the Lincoln portrait date and mint mark would be added. On the reverse, the Lincoln memorial design would be struck. Additionally, mint marks were applied in the die making process by punching the letter into the die surface itself, and later this same mark would transfer to each coin struck by that die. For the most part, the mint strives for perfection, but because of the mechanical complexity and sheer volume of coins produced, mistakes can and do happen. One of the most dramatic and recognizable errors in any year, including 1991, involves off-center strikes. When a planchet is not properly centered within the coining press, it is struck in a position that misses part of the design. The result is a coin whose design is partially incomplete, missing detail, and often leaving blank areas where text or imagery should be. The degree of off-centering varies widely. A coin that is slightly off-center may look like a normal penny with just a bit of irregular blank space, whereas a coin that is 50-50 or more off-center can show a half-moon of missing design with portions of Lincoln's portrait cut off by the edge. These significant off-center examples are visually striking, and because they are relatively rare compared to normal coins, they often command steep premiums in the collector market. The more off-center the strike and the more intact the date and mint mark are, the more valuable the coin tends to be. For instance, a 1991 D penny that is dramatically off-center yet still clearly shows the date and mint mark could sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on severity and collector interest. Another fascinating type of error that collectors seek is the double strike. Double striking occurs when a coin blank is struck more than once by the dies, either because it was not ejected cleanly after the first strike or because of a malfunction in the coin feed. The result is a coin with overlapping images, slight shifts in design elements, ghosted lettering, or doubling of key features. On a Lincoln penny, this might appear as doubled lettering on the motto "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," or overlapping images of the Lincoln memorial or date. These double strikes vary in appearance from faint doubled lines to dramatic misaligned impressions that jump out at the viewer. The rarity and aesthetic appeal of a bold double strike can elevate a 1991 D Lincoln penny from worthless change to a sought-after collectible worth significant amounts, depending on the clarity and uniqueness of the doubling. Within the category of anomalies related to doubling, there are also double die varieties. These arise not from the coin being struck twice but from an imperfection in the die itself. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coins was created with misalignment during the hubbing process, meaning the design was impressed onto the die more than once but slightly rotated or shifted each time the resulting die has doubled. design elements baked into it, and every coin struck from that die will bear those doubled characteristics. For Lincoln pennies, this may show up as shadowed numbers on the date, doubled letters in iconic inscriptions, or similar effects. These varieties are catalogued and named by numismatists and can carry premiums depending on how distinct and popular the variety is. Collectors treasure clear, distinct doubled die varieties because they are striking, both visually intriguing and historically revealing. About the minting process. Mint mark errors are another intriguing category, especially relevant for the 1991 D Lincoln penny because the D mint mark is part of the die creation process. It is possible for mistakes to occur at the moment the mint mark was punched into the die itself. One such error is the repunched mint mark, where the mint mark letter was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions. This can leave telltale signs on the coin struck, such as a doubled or shadowed D or faint traces of a prior alignment. The subtlety of these errors varies. Some are barely noticeable without magnification, while others are clearly visible to the naked eye and can make a coin much more compelling to collectors. The more pronounced and pleasing the error visually, the greater the interest and potential market value. Mint mark die chips and misplaced mint mark errors also occur occasionally and can be desirable if they result in unusual and identifiable characteristics. The mint mark punch itself can break or chip, leaving raised lumps or odd shapes near the mint mark on the coin's surface. Some coins may even have missing mint marks if the die was not properly prepared before striking began. Collectors enjoy hunting for these mint mark variations, and coins exhibiting them can bring premiums depending on rarity and visibility. Some errors involve die defects such as die cracks and die breaks that do not relate directly to misalignment or mint mark issues but still impart unusual characteristics onto the struck coins. As mint dies age and experience, where they can develop hairline fractures that transfer raised lines onto the coins they strike. These lines may traverse Lincoln's profile or cross design elements on the reverse. Some collectors seek out coins with dramatic die cracks, especially if the lines form visually interesting patterns or cross. Major lettering die chips are similar phenomena where chunks of the die break away, leaving irregular raised surfaces on the struck coin. These raised blobs or unexpected shapes can make a coin intriguing and collectible, often for a lower price point than major off-center or double strike errors, but nonetheless attractive to collectors who specialize in error coins. While these are some of the more prominent categories of minting anomalies, there are other rarer types of mistakes that occasionally show up among Lincoln pennies. These include clipped planchets, where part of the planchet blank was missing at the time of striking, typically due to improper feeding of the metal strip into the blanking press. Clipped planchets often have a curved missing section along the coin's edge, and if the clip is pronounced, the coin can be desirable to collectors because the error is unmistakable. Broadstrike errors occur when a coin is struck without proper support, resulting in a planchet that is slightly larger and flatter than normal, with design elements expanded toward the edges. These coins stand out visually and can be collectible, albeit often for more modest premiums. Another unusual kind of error is what collectors call die rotation errors. This occurs when the dies for the obverse and reverse are not aligned according to industry standards, meaning that if you hold the coin with one side upright and rotate it to the opposite side, it may appear significantly rotated compared to normal alignment. For example, a 180-degree rotated reverse would show the Lincoln Memorial upside down relative to the obverse Lincoln portrait. While such rotation errors don't influence the face value of normal circulation coins, they are visually distinct and catch the eye of collectors when substantial. Beyond the physical striking errors, the condition or grade of a coin plays a massive role in its value. The numismatic community uses a grading scale to assess the quality preservation of a coin, ranging from heavily worn circulated examples to pristine uncirculated specimens with full original luster and no signs of wear. A circulated 1991 D Lincoln penny that shows scratches, dents, discoloration, or heavy wear is generally worth no more than face value, even if it is an ordinary coin without errors. Most coins found in pocket change fall into this category, and collectors often pay just minimal amounts to acquire them for typesets or date runs. However, a 1991 D Lincoln penny in excellent uncirculated condition that shows crisp detail and original mint luster can command a premium even without notable errors, because collectors who assemble complete sets of Lincoln pennies want high-quality examples for each year and mint mark. The difference in value between a worn circulated penny and a high-grade uncirculated example can be significant even for coins without errors. Many collectors choose to have their high-grade coins certified and graded by professional third-party grading services. A graded coin is encapsulated in a protective holder with an assigned numeric grade that gives buyers confidence in the coin's condition and authenticity, and often drives higher prices in the marketplace when error coins are discovered in excellent condition or are certified and graded by reputable Services their values can surge substantially over the years. Collectors and dealers have established price guides and auction records that reflect the market's appetite for different types of 1991 D Lincoln penny errors, but these values fluctuate based on collector interest, economic conditions, and the emergence of newly discovered examples. For instance, a dramatic off-center strike with intact date and mint mark might sell for several $100s or more at auction if it is visually arresting and certified authentic. Similarly, a rare and dramatic double strike or a bold repunched mint mark with excellent eye appeal in a high-grade holder could bring similar or higher amounts depending on how collectors perceive its rarity and desirability. Subtle errors that are harder to see or less visually pleasing generally bring lower premiums but still more than face value. Many collectors enjoy building error coin collections with a range of mistakes from mild repunched mint marks to notable die cracks and clipped planchets. These more accessible error coins often sell for amounts ranging from a few dollars to perhaps a few dozen dollars depending on condition and the specific nature of the error. While they may not reach the high prices commanded by dramatic off-center examples, they nonetheless provide fascinating windows into the minting process and reward the careful observer who takes the time to inspect seemingly ordinary coins. Collectors also place value on provenance and certification. A 1991 D Lincoln penny that has been authenticated and graded by a major third-party grading service such as the Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation often brings a price premium because buyers trust the accuracy of the grade and the identification of the error. Collectors frequently consult price guides, auction records, and dealer listings to gauge what similar error coins have sold for in the recent past. But each coin is unique and final sale prices vary based on condition, rarity, and buyer interest. The allure of error coins, including the 1991 D Lincoln penny, extends beyond mere monetary value. For many collectors, the real excitement is the hunt, the joy of discovering something unexpected in pocket change or rolls of coins ordered from banks. The thrill of recognizing a quirky anomaly that most people overlook brings a special satisfaction and connects hobbyists to the broader history of American coinage. The Lincoln penny series in particular, with its long run and varied production history, offers countless opportunities for discovery, whether it be classic errors, dramatic mistakes, or subtle die varieties that spark deep study. Even beyond the novelty of error and variety coins, the 1991 D Lincoln penny carries with it the larger narrative of the Lincoln Cent series and American numismatic history. From its origin as a tribute to Abraham Lincoln to its role in everyday commerce for generations, the penny has been an enduring fixture of American life. Debates about the penny's utility in modern commerce continue. Economists, policymakers, and citizens question whether 1-cent coins are worth producing given material costs and declining purchasing power. Yet regardless of such debates, these coins remain beloved by many collectors and historians because they carry tangible links to the past and reflect changes in technology, culture, and economics over decades. In everyday circulation, the vast majority of 1991 D Lincoln pennies remain worth no more than 1 cent. They are small metal witnesses to millions of ordinary transactions, purchased goods, tipped service workers, collected in jars, and eventually forgotten in drawers. Yet among these millions there exists the extraordinary, the coins that bear the marks of minting mishaps, the anomalies that stand apart from their peers, and the specimens that hold stories waiting to be told to fellow enthusiasts and future generations. At coin shows, club meetings, online forums, and local shops, collectors share information about known errors and newly discovered varieties. The study of these coins is ongoing as more collectors examine large volumes of coins. More error examples come to light, and sometimes previously unknown varieties become documented and added to reference works. The 1991 D Lincoln penny and similar issues remind us that even in years of high production with billions of coins struck, anomalies will occur, and that there is always more to discover beneath the surface of what appears to be ordinary metal. So what makes a 1991 D Lincoln penny worth more than face value? It is a combination of historical significance, underlying minting processes, the allure of rarity, and the curiosity that drives collectors to look closely at each coin. Whether the coin carries a dramatic off-center strike, a bold double strike, a compelling repunched mint mark, a notable die crack, a clipped planchet, or any of the myriad subtle irregularities that can occur during striking, these mistakes transform an ordinary penny into something collectors prize. Its worth becomes a reflection of demand, scarcity, condition, and the story it tells about the moment it was struck more than 3 decades ago. In the grand scheme of American numismatics, the 1991 D Lincoln penny stands as a testament to the richness and complexity that can be found in the most unassuming objects. Every coin tells a story not just of economic exchange but of human endeavor, mechanical precision, and the unpredictable nature of manufacturing. Even a 1-cent piece struck in Denver in 1991 can remind us that history is everywhere, that ordinary can become extraordinary, and that sometimes all it takes is a moment of curiosity to uncover the hidden value waiting to be found under layers of copper, color and time. Whether you are an experienced collector or a curious newcomer, the journey of exploring these tiny pieces of history promises endless fascination and the possibility of discovering something truly valuable hidden in plain sight.